Hello, my name's Amanda Bevan. I work on the Prize Papers project, which is a joint project of the National Archives and the University of Oldenburg. And we have a 20-year cataloguing and digitisation project on the prize papers. Unfortunately, the prize papers could really be described as an archive in disarray. And this is why it's not a straightforward digitisation and why we have had to get deeply involved with it. Sorting or reorganising records is frowned upon by archivists. I'm going to quote Oliver Holmes here from a 1964 standard work. The filing system used by the court or department may not have been the best. It may even have broken down badly. And practical considerations such as lack of time and money to create new systems are a problem. However, the more important truth is that if the archival agency could reorganise the records, to try to do this would be unwise and undesirable. So here we are, condemned by Holmes not to try. I'm afraid we're ignoring this. We have several problems with the prize papers, and one of them, as highlighted here, is the filing system may not have been the best. There is some more to come later. Just to remind you of what the prize papers are, they are papers and letters removed from captured ships in wars between 1652 and 1815. They were used by the High Court of Admiralty to prove enemy or neutral status of the ships and cargoes. Unfortunately, many are disarranged. They were kept by the court in quite good repair, but something happened at some point and they have got in a mess. Researchers will keep using them because they're a fantastic resource. The problem is that they are often not numbered and they are very easy to get out of order. Most of the letters were sent as mail for delivery by sea, so here we have a sack of mail, which you'd think would keep them together quite nicely. However, many have become separated from other papers of their ship, and some even from their own envelopes, so there's quite a lot of sorting out to do when you've got large numbers of separated letters. Let's going back to Holmes. In many archives, there are rats' nests of bundles that appear never to have been systematically arranged or that have been pulled out and never put back. We certainly have some of these. Rat's nests is a horrible term and sends a shiver up my spine as an archivist, but I can see what he means. Things which have just got completely disarrayed, completely messed up. They might come from many different sources. They may relate to one thing, they may not. And as he says, going through them calls for the skill of an archivist. It's time-consuming arrangement work that must be done unless disorder is to be perpetuated. And we really, really don't want to digitise material in this order. It is perpetuating disorder, and that's not what we want. So in 2016, the National Archives had a business order to digitise multiple boxes of Dutch prize papers. And it was for this website, the Dutch Prize Papers, which is now up and running. Digitisation expects documents to be kept in order throughout preservation and imaging, but the prize papers are often in no apparent order. As archivists, we had to intervene, and with Dutch cooperation and support, which we really valued, we conducted an emergency sort of the desired boxes, and some boxes we just had to say, we can't do them now, we can't do them in this time. And you can see the results on the Dutch Prize Papers website. We were very lucky to have worked with the Dutch on this. They came from a background of working with disordered archives, and they understood what we were talking about when we said, we really can't. You'll have to wait a little while we sort this one. We don't have time to sort that one. But we came up with alternatives which they found acceptable. But now we're partners with the University of Oldenburg. This is a 20-year project to sort, catalogue and digitise all prize papers, running between 2018 and 2038. And this is all prize papers, so it's not just German prize papers or Dutch prize papers or French or Spanish or Italian or English or Irish or American. It's all prize papers. And as a result, there are lots and lots of problems with it that we're tackling war by war. We started with the War of Austrian Succession, which ran between 1739 and 1747, better known as the Jacobite Period in this country. partly because Mr. Gascoigne sorted these records ship by ship in the 1950s. This is Mr. Gascoigne, Mr. Charles Bellairs Jacinth Gascoigne, who was a scholar of the High Court of Admiralty and had been a postal censor in the Second World War, and he took this on as a retirement project. He started by going through as many ships as he could, many papers of ships as he could, and coming up with a card index system where he created 2 copies of the card. One went with the ship and one went into an index. And the index is now in our series called Z-Box, Abandoned Editorial Projects. And I'm afraid to say this project was abandoned because Mr. Gascoigne died. However, he left the records in a pretty good state for us to start with. And so we dived in 2018, and we are just sorting and cataloguing the last of the boxes before they go for digitisation. And here's an example of one set of records from one ship, the Hoffnung or Hope, which was transporting the business archive of a merchant called Nicholas Lutkins, who was moving from the west of France to Hamburg after spending several years trading between France and Hamburg. He hid it in a clothes chest in case it was thought to be French papers, and we spent weeks sorting it. So this is me, and this is my colleague from Oldenburg, Lucas Harsis, who has just written a huge book on Nicholas Lutkins and his trading circles, and he was able to do it because of this absolutely unique trading archive. Lutkins kept his 2,000 in-letters that we have. He kept them in bundles by writer and by date of receipt, which he wrote on the edge of the wrapper. So you can see that these are envelopes sideways, and he's on the back flap. The letter's been completely unfolded, and on what would have been the back flap of the envelope, he's written the name of his correspondent and the date he received it. So although they were not in this order, they were completely randomized. We put them back into this order, and we were able to replicate how a really busy merchant kept his archive. Altogether for this war, we've sorted, packed, briefly catalogued and numbered papers from 1,540 ships, captured ships, 15,000 court papers about the process to judge them enemy or neutral, and 33,500 ships papers and letters. So that's mail in transit, it's logbooks, it's bills of lading, it's captain's archives, it's all kinds of things. These are being digitised and fully catalogued by Oldenburg, and Oldenburg are cataloguing them in immense detail, so that not merely will you be able to find letters from Mr. Lutkins to Mr. Van Bobart, but you will also be able to search by letters from husband to wife, letters from wife to husband, letters from son to mother, letters from mother to daughter. So you'll be able to, you don't have to know who you're looking for in order to find categories of letters. It's taking a while, but we will get there. In the meantime, at TNA, we are moving on to a different war, or 2 different wars in this case, 1689 to 1712, where very fortunately there are original registers of the court's actions, and so we can actually come up with the names of ships and who captured them. So here we have the Amity of Wexford, and it gives us brief details, and it tells you who captures it. And then we've got the St. Anthony, again the master of the ship who captures it. From this, we pull out most of that information, but the most important information we get out is the name of the ship and the name of the master. And that helps us easily identify papers from each ship when they're scattered across multiple boxes, because the court very helpfully wrote this information on the back of all the court papers, and the ship's papers tend to have it anyway. So it's really, really helpful for us to identify papers scattered across multiple boxes. Here we have Holmes's problem. The filing system may not have been the best. We discovered this archive list recently. You can see how scrappy it is. It's not been taken care of particularly, and it was tucked inside a volume, a completely different volume from a completely different date. But it dates from about 1712, and it shows that the current arrangement of the records has survived for over 300 years, and that they were kept by type of document and not by ship. So we have, for example, examinations of the captured crew, A, B, and C, and that's ship A, ship B, ship C. claims A, B and C, and ship's papers A, B and C. Now this is really difficult for anybody to use, and if you have say 250 papers in a box of examinations, you may get the same ship repeated 3 or 4 times in there in different places in the pile because they've become disarranged. So we could have sorted within each box and done them that way, which would have meant potentially creating something like 5 or 6 descriptions of the same ship and relating it to separate types of document. That, I think, is an element of, what's the word, duplication too far. We felt it was better to create a file for each ship. And you can see here how many boxes are involved and how many potential places there are to look. So, for example, if you're looking for a ship beginning with A, say the Amity, you'd have to look in box HCA 32, 13, 15, 21, 24, 33 in the hope of finding something. Remember, if you're a reader in the reading rooms, you cannot rearrange these records. It's going to take a great deal of time to look through to find what you're looking for. We've got appraisements, had the value of the ship and cargo, claims from neutral merchants, exhibits, allegations from the captors, the ship's papers, and then again a duplicate, examinations and ship's papers. So what we're doing is, I say, going through to create a file of papers for one ship once, and we catalogue and pack the papers for one ship once. So it's better for the safety of the documents, it's better for researchers' efficiency, it's better for digitisation, and we document the sort and discovery. Here we are, some temporary boxes of A ships between 1689 to 1696, each in a temporary file, waiting to be catalogued and packed in proper archival material at a new reference. So we're not reusing the box numbers, we're starting again with a new sequence. And sometimes we can even match up separated documents which have been found across the boxes. So here we have the interrogatories, the standard questions to be given to the captured crew, and we have the examinations, which are the examinations of the captured crew. And although these were found in a different box, we can see that they relate to the same ship because of the sewing holes on them. You can see that they match up completely. It's always very gratifying to be able to do that. In collection care, we have a slightly different project on the War of 1702 to 1712, again using the data from the court's register, but here we're doing it in paper. So with archival staff, we're doing it using spreadsheets. With our volunteers, we're doing it using printed out spreadsheets, and they are working through looking at the dockets written on each the docket written on each document and matching them up. And so we have Michael and Sarah here, who are very experienced, who are sorting, cleaning and packing. And here is the kind of way that they do it. So here is the docket, Notre Dame de Bayonne. Can't quite see the name of the master, but here we have the paper slip that we've used printed out from the spreadsheet. And so they're able to go through and accumulate all the relevant papers, put them together like this, pack them in acid-free envelopes, and then Michael enters the data into our spreadsheet for us. And Liz, our third volunteer, here with a pile of slips, just showing how many they've identified for ships beginning with N. She's gone on to identify, to sort, transcribe and publish her own set of emigrants' letters kept by her family. You can see we have some very good and experienced volunteers. Separately, we're also working on the American War of Independence. This is over 140 boxes of just letters alone from the 1770s and 1780s, which we could identify as Holmes' rat's nests. One box may contain letters from many ships, one ship may have letters in many boxes. You really don't know. For readers, it's just a lucky dip or an unlucky dip. You don't know what you're going to find. If you found it once, you can't find it again. We don't know why they're in such a mess. We think possibly there was some accident before they came to us in the 1850s. They were previously kept at the Tower of London, and we have imagined that maybe they fell out of the sack split, that they were in, that they fell on the floor, they got scooped back up into sacks when they came to the Public Record Office in the 1850s. They were repacked, but without ever any idea of what was there, just that they were letters from the 1770s and 1780s. The William Nelson Cromwell Foundation is an American institution which supports research into American legal history, and they are funding this major sort of letters found on ships in the American War of Independence, when we were war with not just the United States, but also France, Spain, Holland, etc. They're also supporting a volunteer project, another volunteer project, to identify the history of the capture of each ship, because there's no register for this war. And here I think is one of the supreme examples of Holmes' dictum. Going through a rat's nest calls for the skill of an archivist. It's time-consuming arrangement work that must be done unless disorder is to be perpetuated. And here is my colleague Randolph, who is sorting through the box just to his right with letters in it, and he has all these other boxes around him in a horseshoe which contain letters for identified ships, and he is sorting the unidentified letters into the identified boxes. These are a very small part of the ones that he's working on. They're letters from across the world. He's currently working on a bunch of letters coming from China, from Canton, back to France. There's also American letters, as I said. There's letters from around Europe. There's letters from the Caribbean. They're just an astounding, amazing collection. And once they're sorted and identified and are prepared for digitisation and are freely available on the website of our German partners, they will be a most amazing resource. Some of the letters have been very badly handled in the past, possibly a combination of how they were kept, how they were transferred to the court, how they were kept by the court, probably just a function of age. But maybe some of it we think is a function of them having been opened and read by researchers, and then the researcher has got confused and has done something like this. This is a packet wrapper, so it's an outer wrapper of a letter like an envelope, but inside it has the wrong letter. So that's the wrong letter that was inside it. This is a letter to Bordeaux. This is a packet for Marseille. We know it's the wrong letter because it's actually the wrong shape and size. And if you look at it, the dates, I mean, it just doesn't seem to be right in any way. But we have here a letter with no context and no envelope. And you can see from this one, just looking at the crisscross where it was sewn up, where it was tied up, and looking at the water damage here and here, that it's very, very similar. And it fits inside. So we can match the damp marks and the bleed through and the string marks and push them back together, and they potentially haven't been together for some decades. So I think it's safe to say that sorting out the prize papers has made us all learn new skills, and the records are safe to use. If they get out of order, they can be sorted back. While they're being conserved, while they're being photographed, if somebody has to look at them, has to look at the original again, they can be sorted back into order. So I think, to look back at Holmes's dictum, in some cases you really do need to sort, and sorting out the prize papers has been a great deal of fun.